Hello everyone, Joel here. It's been ages since Square Enix left us stranded in Ivalice, and let's face it, our collective patience for a true Final Fantasy Tactics sequel is wearing thinner than the plot of a modern mobile game. Well, wipe those tears away and put down the old PS1 controller, because today we are diving into 15 modern tactical RPGs that you absolutely need to play if you love Final Fantasy Tactics. Let's get into it! Before we go into the list, I want to give you my recommendation for some of the best deals in instant gaming right now, especially if you're tight on budget. We knew that instant gaming always give us so many crazy deals for your favorite games, like these titles for example. I mean, can you believe these prices? If you love RPGs, there's no way you never heard of these masterpieces, and to think that you can get them under $10 or even $5, it's an absolute steal. All you have to do is just click my link in the description below, start searching for your favorite games, and use the activation code on your chosen platform. By using my link, you're not only saving tons of money, but also helping me to support this channel. Alright then, let's get back into the list. First up, let's talk about a game that looks so much like Final Fantasy Tactics, it practically triggers a copyright lawsuit just by existing on your screen. It's got those gorgeous crisp pixel art aesthetics and grid-based elevation levels that instantly make your inner 90s child scream with joy. Now, don't let the fact that it has gacha elements scare you off into the bushes. The actual single-player campaign Spiral of Destinies is a completely separate, fully fleshed out tactical feast that doesn't cost a dime. The narrative throws you right into a gritty, war-torn kingdom where your choices actually matter, unlike your New Year's resolutions. It's a brilliant blend of classic nostalgia and modern refinement that proves pixel art isn't dead. It was just waiting for a budget. Moving on, if you ever looked at Final Fantasy Tactics and thought, you know, this is great, but I really wish I could manage an entire continental war like a stressed out middle manager, then this one is for you. This game is a glorious, massive hybrid of grand strategy and turn-based tactical skirmishes. You pick one of 6 nations, each packed with enough distinct anime personalities to fill a convention and attempt to conquer the world. The real selling point here is the monster troop system. You're not just commanding generic soldiers, you're leading dragons, ghouls, and fairies into battle. It's basically a fantasy HR simulator where firing someone means letting a giant demon eat them. The sheer scale of replayability is absolutely ridiculous.
Need it?
Again, have you? Wretched soul.
Next up, we have a spin-off that completely pivots the direction of its predecessor, and honestly, thank goodness for that. While the first game was a bit of a slow traditional slog, this new entry injects a massive dose of roguelite adrenaline straight into the genre's veins. It strips away the boring filler and focuses entirely on fast-paced, high-stakes tactical combat with a tight, regenerating squad. If you love the element-based grid mechanics of FFT but also enjoy the suffering of dying repeatedly in a loop, you're going to be obsessed. Plus, the developers have been aggressively updating it based on early access feedback, fixing balancing issues faster than Square Enix can announce another mobile spin-off nobody asked for.
Long story.
Alright, let's look at something for the indie purists. The first game was a heartfelt, if slightly unpolished, love letter to classic handheld strategy. But the sequel, the devs clearly locked themselves in a room, drank way too much caffeine, and fixed almost every complaint. It features a massively overhauled graphics engine and a brand new intricately woven story. The absolute crown jewel of this game is the staggeringly deep class system. We're talking over 50 unlocks and branching promotions. If your favorite part of FFT was spending hours turning a chemist into a terrifying dual-wielding ninja mage just because you could, this game will cater to your specific brand of mechanical obsession beautifully.
Fight as one! If this is what it takes. The Sylvans need me.
Now let's completely throw realism out the window and dive headfirst into absolute unadulterated madness. If FFT is a serious, sophisticated glass of wine, this game is a neon-colored energy drink spiked with popping candy. After a couple of previous entries that left fans feeling a bit lukewarm, this latest installment brings the franchise back to its absolute peak comedic and mechanical glory. We are talking about hitting enemies for literally billions of points of damage and lifting giant bosses like they're cheap groceries. The new jumboification mechanic lets your characters grow into kaiju-sized monsters to smash the battlefield. It's loud, it's delightfully vulgar, it's incredibly self-aware, and the sheer depth of its post-game content will easily consume hundreds of hours of your life. Let's shift gears from swords and sorcery to giant heavy metal death machines. Since it's made by the exact same legendary publisher as FFT, this remake carries that identical, unmistakable DNA of deep, politically charged storytelling. Instead of chocobos, you are customizing giant walking tanks called wanzers, swapping out arms, legs, and weapon systems until your mech looks like a terrifying mechanical Frankenstein. The tactical joy of targeting specific enemy limbs to disable their weapons or blow off their legs is immensely satisfying. The remake brings beautifully updated visuals and a modernized soundtrack, making it the perfect gateway drug for fantasy fans who want to dip their toes into a gritty sci-fi cyberpunk dystopia. Here is a brilliant hidden gem that most people completely sleep on, which is an absolute tragedy. This game puts you in the boots of a freshly appointed guildmaster. You aren't just controlling a static party of pre-made heroes, you are actively recruiting, training, and managing an entire roster of unique adventurers. They go on quests, build relationships, get stressed out, and can permanently die if you make a stupid tactical error. It feels like a beautiful, chaotic marriage between Final Fantasy Tactics grid combat and Darkest Dungeon's psychological torment. The developer is incredibly active online, constantly dropping fresh balance patches and community-driven content, making the world feel genuinely alive and constantly evolving. If your favorite flavor of fantasy is extremely depressing, dark, and drenched in mud, then welcome home. This game turns the classic Arthurian legend completely on its head. You play as Sir Mordred, the guy who killed King Arthur, but now you've both been resurrected in a twisted, corrupted version of Avalon, and you have to finish the job. The tactical combat is brutal, heavy, and unforgiving, emphasizing armor management and precise positioning over flashy magical spells. It also features a fascinating morality matrix where your choices can turn you into a benevolent Christian king or a ruthless old faith tyrant. It's basically Final Fantasy Tactics if everyone was severely depressed and it never stopped raining.
At your service, my lord. What are we waiting for?
Speaking of unique settings, let's talk about a game that trades medieval castles for a rusted post-apocalyptic wasteland. This indie powerhouse combines grid-based tactical combat with customizable, heavily armored vehicles and retro-futuristic technology. The grid isn't just for walking anymore. You have to manage momentum, vehicular drifting, and environmental hazards that can shred your tires in seconds. The writing is incredibly sharp, packed with dark, cynical humor that perfectly captures the vibe of trying to survive at the end of the world. It's a refreshing, mechanically inventive breath of fresh air for anyone who is tired of seeing the exact same elves and goblins in every single strategy game.
Ah, help me!
I've got to come up with something juicy to inspire action.
This next game is nothing short of an absolute storytelling masterpiece. It uses a gorgeous papercraft pop-up book art style, but don't let the cute visuals fool you. This game will emotionally destroy you. It features a procedurally generated narrative system that builds unique character arcs based on your choices. Your characters grow old, fall in love, get scarred in battle, pull wild pranks on each other, and eventually retire or die of old age, leaving their children to inherit their legendary weapons. The tactical magic system is incredibly clever, letting you interact with environmental objects like burning trees or stone pillars to blast your foes. It captures the pure chaotic magic of a tabletop D&D campaign better than almost anything else on the market. Alright, we have to talk about the literal spiritual successor brought to us by the masterminds at Square Enix themselves. Using the gorgeous HD 2D graphical style, this game is an absolute masterclass in political intrigue and agonizing decision-making. The narrative revolves around the scales of conviction, a voting system where your companions can completely override your choices if you fail to persuade them. The combat maps are brilliantly designed, focusing heavily on environmental advantages, like using lightning magic on a puddle to shock multiple enemies at once. It's got that heavy, dramatic Shakespearean tone that made tactics so legendary in the first place. Let's take a quick detour into pure, unadulterated fanservice heaven. This long-running franchise is essentially the ultimate crossover event for anyone who grew up watching giant robots smash into each other on Saturday morning television. It brings together iconic mech series into one massive grid-based tactical crossover campaign. The gameplay itself is relatively straightforward, but the real selling point here is the jaw-dropping, beautifully animated combat sequences that look like they were ripped straight out of a high-budget anime. It's flashy, incredibly hype, and packed with hilarious inside jokes for anime fans. With recent global releases finally hitting Steam, it is easier than ever for international players to jump into the giant robot cockpit. We cannot have a conversation about Final Fantasy Tactics without paying absolute respect to its literal genetic ancestor. Directed by the legendary Yasumi Matsuno himself, this is the definitive remaster of the game that laid the foundational blueprint for the entire genre. The Reborn edition brings massive quality of life upgrades, completely overhauled enemy AI that will absolutely punish your mistakes, and fully voiced dialogue that elevates the dark, tragic political story to a cinematic level. The branching narrative paths are so wildly different that it practically demands multiple playthroughs just to see how many of your favorite characters you can accidentally get executed. It is a timeless, brutal, unmissable masterpiece that every strategy fan needs to experience. Now for something that completely flies under the mainstream radar but absolutely deserves your full attention. Developed by the creators of Girls Frontline, this is a premium single-player tactical thriller set in a futuristic Cold War. The gameplay focuses intensely on small-scale, high-stakes tactical operations where stealth, vision mechanics, and clever item utilization are just as important as your raw firepower. The map design is incredibly tight, forcing you to constantly adapt to changing enemy patrols and environmental hazards. It's a brilliant blend of modern anime aesthetics and hardcore, brain-melting tactical puzzle solving that will appeal to anyone who loves optimization and precise execution.
3人でタクシーを呼んで迎えに行けば
Finally, we arrive at what can only be described as the ultimate hidden heavyweight champion of the entire modern tactical genre. Developed by a tiny, wildly passionate South Korean indie studio, this game is an absolute behemoth. Imagine a vibrant, modern cyberpunk anime setting, but with a turn-based combat system that takes the best parts of Final Fantasy Tactics and XCOM and then injects it with a staggering amount of customization. There are literally hundreds of unique mastery gems you can find and combine to create insane character builds, turning your squad into unstoppable superheroes. The developers have supported this game with massive free updates for years, making it an absolute love letter to the strategy community.
바로 이거지!
Alright boys, I think that's it for today. I know that there are other games that I haven't mentioned yet, so how about sharing your favorites that probably deserve the spot in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and make sure to subscribe the channel if you don't want to miss another great list. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Peace!